Welcome, Audrey West, to the We've Connected podcast. Coming to you live from both of our homes because of Corona.
Coronavirus.
I'm really excited for this episode because I think sometimes, when it comes to starting a business, social media can seem overwhelming because it's not just one social media. It's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But B, we are all, I think I'm willing to say we're all on social media to some extent and maybe think that we can figure it out. But it's a little trickier than we might want to think.
Yeah, I'd say so. It can be very overwhelming, but it's very doable.
Done. I love that.
Yeah.
So give a little background on yourself with your experience with Instagram, not only with Weave, but with your own business.
Yeah. So I've just always been into like photography and creating stuff and all that. So I was drawn to Instagram the minute it out. I seriously was like an 8th grader and I was like, friends, you have to download this app. And I was so excited.
Says the daughter of a huge creative designer.
So I guess that makes sense. But so it's like since the beginning, I was just like on the app for fun, posting stuff. And then it's sort of like, it's honestly like a game for me. I love it, or like a big puzzle. And so I was not doing it for money or any of that. It was like before the time of influencers. And I liked a pretty feed and I liked pretty photos. And so that's what kind of got me into it. But then I realized, okay, people are making money from this. Like, this is a career path. What's the deal?
Yeah.
So that's when I emailed companies nonstop. And I was like, hey, I can take this many photos for you. And I can create content for you. This is valuable stuff. And then you can share it on your platform or repost. And I kind of outlined it for them. And they're like, yeah, sure. We'll send you our product. So that's kind of how I got into like the business side of it, because I don't want to call myself an influencer, but I was mainly creating content for other businesses' platforms. And then from there, I did that for 2 or 3 years, pretty consistently. And then, I mean, I've gotten to do some cool ones. Like I worked for Victoria's Secret, Pink, and then I did Coca-Cola shoots, and I've done some fun ones. And so Courtney from Weave kind of knew me through Qualtrics too, and she was like, hey, maybe try out Weave. We might need some social media help. So that's where I am now, and I'm helping to do campaigns and social stuff for Weave. And then on the side of that, I'm also doing my own small business. It's like a travel business. And then, so I've gotten to learn like through trial and error what to do for a small business too.
Especially as the platforms have evolved, because every single one of them has changed. And that's the thing too, is like, not only do we as business founders, you know, if we're talking this 3-day timeline of launching this business, have to worry about the books and our product, our offering, our website. We also have to deal with the fact that if we're not changing, everything else that we're putting our stuff on is changing. And that can be hard to keep up with.
Yeah, it can be. I know since I've been on it for so many years now, I've kind of been able to see how it shifted, because there was a time where like everyone stopped using Instagram, it felt like, and everyone was on Twitter. And then now it's like no one uses Snapchat anymore. They only use whatever. Like it's always changing, even with what people are using. So it can get a little confusing of like, where should I even start?
Yeah, and then throw TikTok in the mix now. Man, I'm like, I don't want to download another app. Do I have to?
No. I'm at a point where I'm just sharing TikToks on Instagram, and I'm like, what? I don't even, yeah. It gets really confusing.
I bet. So I figure with that, we maybe start with talking about each of the different platforms and when and why we might use them.
Yeah. So I'll just go down the list of each platform and kind of explain it. In my own personal opinion, I prefer Instagram and Facebook for small businesses because that's where you're going to get the most traction, build a really good community, and have the right tools of like sharing photos and videos to get your brand out there. But here's the official breakdown. So Instagram, like I said, is for photo and video. There's a really good community there where you can get a lot of people sharing your stuff. You can share other people's stuff to, like I said, create that community. So that's why I really like Instagram. And it's super user-friendly. And yeah.
And to that point too, like Instagram isn't visually and even technically in terms of the functions it serves overwhelming the way Facebook is.
Yeah, definitely.
And so in that sense, like you know that there are two modes of being able, maybe three modes, I guess, of getting in front of someone on Instagram. Right. Your posts, your stories, and sponsored content.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why one of the big reasons I'm drawn to Instagram, just because I am like minimalist, but also like I like to categorize things very well, and Instagram does that in a really good job. Facebook does get a lot more messy in my opinion, so that's why Facebook or Instagram, sorry, is nice because you can just like have your daily posting schedule and know that's pretty much going to be the same every day. Yeah. Facebook, however, is the leading, like it is leading in all of the other platforms. It's the biggest one. It has the most users. It has also the most users who will buy from a brand that they see. So it can be very, very beneficial for your business. But it does take a little more time to just figure out the rhythm of it.
Yeah, and it looks like too, Facebook is the platform people spend the most time on.
Right, yeah. I think there's they spend like 40 minutes more or something than all the other platforms, which is a good chunk of time.
That is. I had to, given Corona, had to figure out how to use my phone's settings to limit when I can get on social media.
I know.
I can get on, but notifications.
I know with coronavirus, social media usage has gone up over 50%.
Oh my gosh. Sam.
Yeah, so coronavirus time to be promoting your business on social media.
Seriously, I mean, you talk about like downtime. Like how many people don't have a commute now and can spend that time doing that instead? That's wild. That's kind of cool.
Okay, on to Twitter. So Twitter is also very simple because you're limited to 140 characters.
Yep.
You don't really have to be too in depth. It's sort of just to get your name out there, and I mean retweets are easy. It's just like a fast moving thing, which can also make it a little scary because it is so fast paced and the trends are always changing on Twitter and all of that.
And what if you don't have anything to say with Twitter? Because a lot of people post several times a day, right?
Right. The thing that I just want to mention with like all platforms is I was talking to this one lady who said the same thing. She was like, I'm really good at Facebook for my business, but I'm really bad. I'm just scared of Instagram. But it's like, just because these platforms are slightly different and they have their own strengths and weaknesses doesn't mean you have to be posting completely different content on all of them.
Oh, okay.
If you're posting something on one of them, you can share the exact same thing on all your platforms. And most likely it'll still be helping your brand and building that community that you want. So for Twitter, I would say just don't overthink it. Like share your main message. And even if you're tweeting once a day, at least you're tweeting once a day. It's better than zero, right?
Yeah. That's a good call
out. Okay. And then for LinkedIn, so the difference between Twitter and LinkedIn, I like to think of this to sort of differentiate them. Twitter is going to be building your community with other people, and LinkedIn is going to be building your community with other businesses. And So LinkedIn is where you can really build a really strong community. And when you make those other connections, obviously networking is a very strong tool and it's going to get you further.
Would you say then that if you're a business to business, a B2B business, that LinkedIn is better than Twitter? And if you're a B2C business, Twitter's better than LinkedIn? Or
yeah, I'd say we, for example, is a B2B mostly. And LinkedIn is a very strong platform for us. So, and we do get better numbers on LinkedIn than Twitter. So, with that, yes, LinkedIn is better.
Interesting. Okay. So now that we get the basic concept of each of these platforms, deep breath. How do you go about promoting your business, right? We've already talked about, in these other episodes, the fact that we've solidified our brand, our messaging, our go-to market, hopefully our voice as well, right? Because we've articulated what our company encompasses, and then we've translated that visually into our design, and we've written ourselves out a style guide. We've got all of that in hand. What do we do now? Where do we start?
Well, if you have all that, you're set up for success. So that's good.
That is our goal, right? Yeah. We're going to launch a business in 3 days successfully.
That's right. So once for social media, this is your outward appearance to everyone. This is what people will be seeing, because to you, it seems like there's a lot, like you've done so much, but what are other people seeing? Like they don't get to see all of that behind the scenes stuff. So the things that are outward are your website and your social media.
Yeah.
So you might feel like you're being overwhelmed by all this business stuff, but really everyone out there has no idea. So you need to share it. So from day one, you just need to start with a plan. So in order to do that, you need to figure out, what you're wanting to post. And if you've figured out your mission and your brand, you've probably already figured that out. And then my favorite thing is just to look for inspiration. Look at your competitors. Look at other businesses that might not even have anything to do with you, but you like their style or their voice. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I love how Starbucks introduces new drinks and stuff. That has nothing to do with a tech company, but I can take inspiration from that. And then last thing is just, like I said, this is your outward appearance. So just make sure that what you've decided for your brand and your voice is what you want to also be sharing. Once you figure that out, you're probably good.
Okay, yeah, so key, right? And then knowing that by sticking with that, it is okay to appeal to a certain crowd.
Yes,
in fact, almost better, as opposed to trying to be a crowd pleaser.
Yes, that is probably your biggest strength if you figure out your niche, your niche, however you want to say that.
No, I say it both ways too.
But if the more specific you are, in my opinion, the better off you're going to be, because people want somewhere to identify with. And if they come across your page or if they see it promoted and they identify with it, they're most likely going to follow you and you have a better chance of business, right?
Yeah.
So, so figure out, don't be scared of being super specific. It'll help you out in the long run.
Yeah.
Okay, next you want to decide which platforms are right for you. And I don't want that to be like an overwhelming step to be like, where should I start? Really, if one platform comes easier to you, like for me, it's Instagram, just start with Instagram if you want. You can refine your business later on by adding in more. You do not have to hit all 5 at once. You can start strong on one, and then when you're ready to start on Twitter, you can share on Instagram, hey, we're on Twitter now, So just decide where you want to be and run with it.
Yeah, it's the momentum there, right?
Right.
That instead of getting clammed up and not doing anything, it is better to just act, get it out there. And even if that means down the road, like, it's funny, I've recently taken to when I follow people, I'll scroll deep down through their feed to see when they changed their look, their feel, their branding, because it's so funny to see them evolve. And then, but what's cool about it too, and something we discussed in our conversation with Gianni about your brand, is that you start to see this uniformity.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember Jenna Kutcher, the host behind the Gold Digger podcast, she posted recently and said she uses the same filter for every photo. Right. So that it has the same appearance. You even think like when we were establishing those style guides, like you can build templates for your social media posts that are your colors, are the font you want, and do that heavy lifting in these 3 days, so that when it comes to this plug and chug of everyday posting, it decreases the burden, decreases that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Like, what am I gonna post, or how am I gonna portray it? Yeah,
because you already have the skeleton of, like, if you're gonna post quotes a lot, or if you're gonna post pictures of merchandise, or if you're gonna post lifestyle photos, you already know that this is the filter I'm using, or these are the colors, this is the layout, whatever it might be.
Yeah, totally. That kind of goes into my next one of like quality over quantity also. Just because, like you were saying, like most people post a ton on Twitter, like what should I post? You still don't want to just like be out there and be annoying. You want to show everyone what you have to offer. And you have a lot to offer. So just because I'm saying like quality over quantity doesn't mean don't post twice a day maybe. It's just saying make sure you are following your own rules of having good content that you're putting out. Don't just be like, oh, I need a post today.
I need to check the box.
Let me just download something from Pinterest and share it. Like, you still want to make sure that you're following your own brand, because in the long run, that's what's going to pay off. When someone looks at your feed, even though it's very superficial, if your feed looks good, they're going to recognize that as you being professional, and they want to follow you.
Yeah, and I think part of that goes back to even what we had from I'm going to call it our first episode, not our panel episode, but with Jake, where he talked about the importance of authenticity. Yes. And you need that in social media. And I think I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, on the fact that sometimes it can be easier to get more followers by doing things like promoting other companies and doing contests and say, hey, follow them, follow me, as opposed to getting them organically.
Right.
I'd love your thoughts on that, whether you recommend it, whether you just say, you know what, it's better to, I won't even finish the sentence. I'll just like insert opinion here.
Yeah, I do have some opinions on that. I know, honestly, from firsthand experience, like I said, I've been doing this for myself for a long time too. And so of course you're like, oh, I have 500 followers right now, I need 1,000. And you're like, I will do anything for 1,000 followers.
Which is hard too, because like once you get to, I think it's 10,000, you unlock the swipe up feature.
Which I hate. I'm like, just make it available for businesses.
I know.
Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, there are things like that that are probably always going to keep us itching for that next follower.
Totally. So it is very tempting, is what I'm saying, to want more and more followers. But like I said, in the long run, it will be so much better if they are authentic, because you will get screwed over if you have followers who are not engaging. It will push your content down because the algorithm will think that you are not popular, that people do not want to see your stuff, so they will not show it. So that's pretty much the biggest punishment of getting followers. Some people would argue, I mean, I know celebrities even will do anything to get lots of followers just to have credibility in that way. So, I mean, there are arguments for why you could do that. But again, in the long run, it's going to be so much better to just authentically get your followers. Again, it's about building those connections and building your community, because that's what is going to actually get you those customers.
Yeah, probably better for our mental health too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean it can seem like such a rat race, and we can get lost in, or even like recently, I want to say in the last 6 months, Instagram started taking away the ability to see how many people liked a photo.
Yeah. I like that because I mean, sometimes I admit I have posted on my personal Instagram and I didn't get as many likes as I wanted. And so I deleted the post, even though it like, for me, it was what I wanted to share. It was the type of content, that quality content I want to share, but people just weren't used to it yet. So they hadn't liked it. But
Yeah,
why did I delete that? Like I
I
should just left
know.
it. So I think
So,
without likes, it'll help people just share what they need to share.
yeah. So no matter the platform, maybe we could say main rule of thumb is worry most about engagement.
Yes.
And
Oh,
what would you say helps drive engagement? Is it the types of tools you use within each platform? Is it your actual content? Is it your photo? Is it some combination of all three or something different entirely?
I'd say it is a good combination because it's sort of like the special recipe of having good content, which is going to catch people's attention. And then if you have an engaging caption, asking them a question where they're going to be wanting to respond, things like that, that's going to be driving your engagement. So it doesn't, that is the hard part of social media. It's not just one thing. Otherwise, people would like, everyone would be super popular in social media. So it's also about consistency. Consistency is a big one because if you are posting every day, again, your content is going to be pushed up to the top and people are going to be seeing it more. More people who see it, more engagement you get. So in my opinion, the biggest, like I said, the biggest thing is consistency, about getting on, about not just sharing your own stuff, but also being consistent about responding to other businesses saying, hey, great stuff, like whatever it takes, or even going to other people's profiles and saying, I mean, you could get really annoying and comment and be like, check out my stuff. It depends on how salesy you want to be, but there are different aspects of engaging with other people to build that up.
Right. And each tool has, or each platform has its own tools to help you do that.
Yeah.
But would you say the common way, no matter the platform, to measure it would be comments, retweets, reshares, all of that?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Um, there was something else I was going to say, but I'm going to pull the mom card and say mom brain took it out of me. Maybe it'll come to me at 3 a.m. in 2 days.
Yeah, that's right. I can move on to my next step.
Yeah.
So this pretty much is what we've been talking about, is about building your community, which also known as building your engagement and um, building credibility for yourself. So first thing is to get to know your audience. You've probably already done this throughout the other steps, but if you specifically identify this, then you'll be better off. So if you know
Remember what I was going to say, and it has to do with that.
Oh, okay.
And it was that in our very first episode of this podcast, we talked to Sarah Grover, who had founded Utah Furniture Deals. And she started off just on Facebook Marketplace and Instagram. And really, I think that's honestly what her biggest strength was she knew her audience. And even to this day, she knows when she's going to post because she knows her audience.
Yeah.
She knows they're going to be on at 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. because that's when they're going to put their kids down and they want to look at their Instagram, right? And that is so key, meeting these people where they are. And you have to understand that.
Right, because they're probably not going to be searching for you. So you need to go to them. Yeah, and then once you know that audience, then you can easily just start expanding it. I mean, you can find your top customers and ask them to help promote it, or there's so many different ways to even follow some people who you think you want to engage with later. So then you just build your circle even larger.
Well, One thing I'd actually like to touch back onto was, with that, what we were talking about with engagement. And even before that, right, how you just said we need to post just every day. It's like, so I read this story once of this experiment that was done in a photography class. And I think I've mentioned this on another interview, but where at the end of the semester, they were going to assess of two groups, which group performed better. Group A was asked to assess what makes a good photo and study composition and study quality and this, that, and the other. And they would be judged by their final submission. They only had to produce one photo, pretty much. Group B was judged, so Group A was quality, quote unquote. Group B was quantity. And it was just photo after photo after photo. And I don't want this to contradict what you said about our social media feeds about quality over quantity, but just knowing that as you do post more, they will get higher in quality as well. Yeah. And you'll find your voice. You'll find sound bites or things that like really are truly retweetable. But if you clam up and hold back in an fear that it's not quality enough, you won't end up achieving any level of higher quality at all.
Yeah, that is good to point out, because I think that is another difficult thing, because it is important for the quality, but it is important for the quantity. Yeah. So it's sort of like that balance. And then I also just want to specify, like, I was saying like every day, but the specific meaning of that is like you do need to find your balance. It doesn't mean you actually have to post every day. It just means have that consistency. For LinkedIn, you probably will only post maybe 2 times a week. For Twitter, you might post 2 times a day. So each platform you need to figure out that balance.
Yeah. And just for you and your workload. And I mean, and especially like right now when we're talking about launching a business, right? You're not you may not have someone doing it for you. If you do, kudos, like round of applause. It may take you some time to get there. And so I don't know, but before we get to like more tools to use, and I know I've interrupted you too, and you've been building our online community, but would you recommend setting a timer to say just do 20 minutes a day? Whatever you end up posting as a result, that's great.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good tool just to make it feel more doable. Yeah. Because it can like get away from you to be like, oh man, I haven't posted in a whole week. Like, what's the point? You kind of feel like overwhelmed by the fact that whatever. But to just, like you said, if that's something that helps you categorize it or make it feel more doable, totally. That's going to be a super helpful tool to, again, have that consistency, and then doing it over and over, like you said, the quality of it will increase with the quantity.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and maybe it's a 20 minutes in the morning for you to do your posting, and a 20 minutes in the evening for you to engage with whatever comments or messages have been sent, because that's important too, to your point of talking about building this community.
Yeah. And for your mental health, to not be on social media all the time.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, any last thoughts you'd like to say on that community or relationship building?
No, I just think that's a good thing to keep in mind, to remember, like, you don't have to be salesy all the time. I mean, it's better if you're less salesy, obviously, because you will build that authenticity. And I mean, do things to share your story and to show off who you are and to show people like you are a small business owner. That's an awesome thing. People want to support you. So the more that you show and share, the better. I know some businesses that it's the business owner who's on Instagram stories talking to the camera, and they're like, hey, this is the behind the scenes. Look at what I'm doing today. This is kind of messy and not so glamorous, but I wanted to show you. And it makes me be like, oh, I want to support that person.
Yeah. So, well, and that even goes full circle with how you started the conversation of like, people don't see what you're doing every day.
Yeah.
And a lot of social media will seem really buttoned up and professional, like you were saying, but it's also, especially in the time of the Corona blues, a time and a way to have human connection, to be genuine and authentic, to show, and maybe even ask for feedback. Here are my product done 2 different ways. Which do you prefer?
Yeah. I follow an earring brand. Literally, they sell earrings, and they're like, "Hey, we hand make our earrings, and we are not sure how many we should make for this round. We don't want to sell out. So comment if you want one." And it, like, they were like, "We know this is unprofessional, but it honestly made me like connect to that person way more." And I was like, and it got me excited for their next launch. Like, there
Well,
you go.
is it unprofessional or is it just untraditional? And
Right,
we've
right. They said like,
right.
sorry, this is unprofessional, but I'm like, no, I think this is a great marketing strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's breaking with tradition
Mhm.
where
It's catching people's attention because right now we're so like over consuming content, we're like numb to it. I heard this one girl say like, I could see a picture of someone like literally swimming in gold and I wouldn't be surprised. They're like, it could be like the craziest, coolest thing, and I just be like, cool, scrolling, keep scrolling, you know?
yeah.
And so it's like if you break those barriers, if you're being authentic, people love that.
Yeah. Taking them by surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's tie a bow on this. What tools do you recommend as people are starting off?
Okay. I'm gonna break this down just like sharing how I do it. I think that'll be the way it makes the most sense.
Yes.
So when I have a photo or video that I want to edit, I personally edit in the Tezza app. And
How is that spelled?
it's Tezza.
Okay.
It's a girl who was an influencer and everyone loved her presets. She's amazing. Little plug for her. But her app is really user friendly. It's like $2 a month, so it's super cheap too. Yeah, so that's the one I love. My second one that I used to always use is Visco, VSCO, which is another very user-friendly one. They have lots of different filters for you to choose from, which, like we mentioned earlier,
Does it do the same thing as Tezo?
same thing as Tezza. It's just you find different filters on each app, so you can kind of figure out which one you like the most, and then probably use that on all of your photos to make
Yeah.
it the
So
uniformity.
remember which one you like.
Right.
Or
You
which two
can
maybe.
favorite them, and you can just use that one.
Yeah.
It's So I'll go in and edit in that. Another fun one, if you're wanting some extra edits, is PixArt or Lightroom. They even have a free app, which is nice. So those are extra ones. But personally, I use the Tezza app. Doesn't matter which one you use, though. Just edit your photo to look nice. You can honestly use iPhone photos if you don't have a professional photographer. Do not overthink it. It'll look beautiful. And then for video editing, my favorite app actually on the phone is InShot. I was an iMovie and Final Cut lover, but for iPhone stuff, for just someone starting out and you need an easy, user-friendly thing, InShot is really great. And they
And
also
that's just trimming video
right,
or
you can put music over it, you can
cool.
put little stickers on it. It's really fun, and they have free music in it that's
That won't get blocked.
well, yeah.
Cool.
So that's probably my favorite part about it.
Yeah.
So that's when I'm editing the photo or video to post for any platform. For Instagram specifically, I'm all about the pretty feed, like I've mentioned a lot, because that is what is going to be the reflection of your brand when someone comes to your site.
Because people do love to go to your profile and see everything.
Yes.
And it just is very visual. I'm a big fan of saying that pretty food tastes better.
Oh yeah, totally.
And same thing, right?
Same thing for Instagram. So my app that I love is Snug, 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 and I think it might be like $2 to buy the app, and then you don't have to pay. Most other So this is an app that will plan out your feed. You can put in photos and you can move them around, drag and drop them into different squares and figure out where they'll look the best and in what order, all of that.
Does it post for you, or is it just a planning tool?
One does not post for you. It's just planning. There are other apps like Planology where you can plan your feed and then schedule the post. I personally just don't like it.
Well, and there are cons to it.
Yes. One, it's not as user-friendly in my opinion. But two, when you're using those apps to plan your posts and to post for you, it is wonderful to have it post for you. You don't have to worry about it. You can kind of, I mean, I see the pros, right? But the con is that the social media platforms now are pushing down people's content when they use those types of apps and services, because pretty much they're punishing you for not being on their platform because they just want people on their platform for longer amounts of time. So if they see that you actually physically posted from Instagram or from Facebook, then they're going to help push that and boost your post. It's sort of like an unspoken thing. Some people will argue against this, but I've read it a lot of people who have similar experiences, and there have been a lot of studies that are saying like, yeah, you need to post from the app to be better off. Okay.
Hey,
that was a lot.
That's a big mouthful, yeah.
Okay, the last thing, this is my most favorite app for social media. This will be your best friend, especially if you don't have like a graphic designer or graphic design team. Use Adobe Spark because they have so many like easy graphic design templates and tools, and it's seriously like drag and drop easy, or just click on it and enter in your text and it looks so beautiful. You can pay for your Adobe subscription to have like premium access, but it's mostly free if you don't want the premium templates.
And can you put in like your hex codes and stuff to make sure it's on? And
okay.
yes.
So you can put in your logos and your colors even. You enter in your like literally the code for your colors, so it's always the same. And you say, I think it like the button is like brand me or something, like not brand me. It's like, I don't know, but like that sounded weird. You might want to cut that out. I think the button is like brand this template, and it will literally insert all of your colors and your logo and everything. It's my best friend. I promise you, it's amazing. Just play around with it for a while, and you can create so many awesome posts from that. And the other amazing thing, I feel like this is totally a promo for Adobe, but the other awesome thing is that you can just select which size, like you tell it where you're going to be posting it, like Twitter, and it'll make it Twitter size. You want it Facebook, it'll make it the Twitter. Yeah, it's awesome. So that's probably my favorite one. Like I was helping my mother-in-law with her Instagram for her business, and I was like, you need to learn how to use this because you got it. It'll take you far. But yeah, there are so many apps out there. Just like play around with them. Don't be scared of them.
Yep. And we've just given an overview, right? Because we're just getting started. Right. We could do a whole series.
Oh my gosh, I could give you a day-by-day breakdown.
Seriously, and even like you're saying with Snug, like I remember one time for Weave, you posted in a manner where when you look at our feed, there are 3 photos next to each other that make one long photo.
Yeah.
You know, you can start to look into those things.
Like weekly posting schedules where you post like Motivation Monday and Let's Talk Tuesday, like, and
we could go deep into stories. Yeah.
So much stuff.
But the point is, we're giving you the minimum required to get off the ground, get your brand out there, because that's the big part when it comes to launching your business. You want your name out there, and social media, all of these different platforms are going to help you do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. We can also, like, you didn't touch on YouTube or Pinterest, but those are probably social media around too.
Yes, for sure. YouTube is such an awesome tool. Sorry, I want to also mention, thinking of video, video is a big tool when using social media right now. Videos will probably do better than photos even. So if you're able to splurge to have a videographer make some stuff for you, or even just, like I said, record some stuff off your iPhone of you showing behind the scenes of stuff or whatever it is, those will also benefit you. But yeah, stuff like Pinterest and stuff, just the more you're out there, like you're saying, the more you're pushing your brand out, so more people can know about it even, the better.
Yep. And then, it can be as simple as get a rhythm in, get a feel for your brand and the look and feel and what you want to say. Oh, and I meant to mention this, but it's okay to repost or to say the same thing 2 weeks later.
Yes. Like for Weave example, people are like, what the heck is Weave, right? And so when a newbie comes to our site or to our social platforms, it's okay that we've posted like once a week with like sort of
what Weave is,
guide of like what we're doing, who we're catering to, because even though we've said it a million times before, there's always new people visiting and they need to know what's going on. They're not going to be scrolling down
right, and
when you launched your Who We Are video or something.
People who have been following you for a while won't mind. They'll probably just scroll past it.
Right. I heard this one lady explaining, like, she was like, I think they're talking about Fawn Designer, one of the Utah companies, and they're like, a strength of a lot of these companies is that they share their story. And even though and the lady was like, well, how often should I share my story? Like, there's new people following me every week. And she's like, I don't want to be annoying to the old followers who know my story by heart now. And she's like, they're following you because they want
of your story.
Right. They love your story. That's why they're following you. They're inspired by it. Like, whatever it is, they're here for a reason. And so it's like, share it. Keep sharing it. They love hearing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Went on a little tangent there at the end.
Yeah.
We'll post all of these tools in the blog post for this episode. And you can find a sample social media calendar, sample posts that we have done. We'll link to a few assets there so that you can get a good grasp of what you want to do, maybe some inspiration. We'll link to calendar reminders. They get me every time. We'll link to a few Thanks for listening to that episode of We've Connected. Make sure to hit subscribe down below so you get notified of any time we add a new episode. We'll catch you next time. Brands that we highly recommend as inspirational as well. So thank you, Audrey.
Yeah, thank you.